Alright guys, Pamo here. Today we're going to put the cylinder head back on the engine for the track car. I'm going to do a little bit of an update showing you what we've done previously, and then we'll get straight on with it guys. So, the track car as it stands right now, as you know, the cylinder head needed changing out. We're ready to do that. We've cleaned up the block. The block's ready to take the new cylinder head, or the second-hand cylinder head. I've cleaned up the cylinder head. We've got a new head gasket. We've checked out the torque and the head bolts. We've checked the head bolts, and we're ready to go. In between times, what I've done so far with the old engine is take the gearbox out. I've had the flywheel face skimmed so that we know we've got a nice clean flywheel face to play with when we put the clutch back on, and that's now all sitting ready to go onto this engine once it's all been put back together and ready to go into the new body of its car. So we're going to start off today by sticking a bit more light on here just so I can see what I'm doing, and then we'll get ready to put the cylinder head on and we'll tell you what we're going to do. Okie dokie guys, so down here you can see we've got the block, we've got it cleaned up as best we can. I haven't seen much of a problem with it. It's got a tiny bit of corrosion in the surface, but I'm pretty happy that it's there. I've checked it for flatness and I'm also happy it's nice and flat. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the cylinder head gasket, which is a brand new item from Mitsubishi, and we're going to lay this over the top of the block on the posts that you can see just here and here. Right, as you can see, it sits proud of the surface guys. That's because it's a multi-layered steel gasket. It's actually, I think, 4 layers of metal here held together with these copper rivets at each side. Right, so cylinder head's going to go on first without the cam girdle. The cam girdle is going to stay off it just now, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the cylinder head bolts. I'm going to reuse the ones that were previously on this engine. The reason I'm doing that is because in the Mitsubishi manual, the specification I believe says that these can be a maximum of 96.4mm long. The measurement of 96.4mm is from the face of this flange to the tip of the bolt guys. So if these bolts are longer from there to there than 96.4mm, then they've stretched too much and they can't be reused, and that's quite important. You don't then reuse them, you've got to buy new ones. It's not worth risking it if they're out of spec guys. These ones we've measured and they're about 95.195mm all in. That's done with a digital caliper so we know what we're looking at. The most important thing after that is to take the bolts, make sure you keep them clean. You can see these are coated in engine oil right now, so we're not going to put them in dry, we're going to put them in nice and wet so there's plenty of lubrication for them. Okay, these washers can actually only go on one way round, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the camera. If I hold the washer that way, the top of the washer, this side where my finger's pointing to, is actually concave, so it bends away like so. The bottom of the washer is completely flat, and it's the flat side which is going to actually go downwards towards the cylinder head itself. So when we assemble each bolt, we want to make sure the rounded edge is next to the flange of the bolt head and the flat side is going to be at the bottom of the bolt. Right, so we're just going to set this up now. If you give us a couple of minutes, by the magic of filming, we'll grab the cylinder head and we'll get ready to put it all together for you. Okay, so what you're about to see here is me making a mistake guys. You'll see that I tightened the head bolts down to 20 Newton meters and then put a single 120-degree turn on those bolts. That's not correct. I want to make it quite clear you're supposed to put 220-degree turns on the bolts, and it gives you a total Newton meter torque reading of around about 85 to 90. This is crucial. If you read the manual, the text in the manual doesn't make that clear. You have to refer to the actual torque specifications part of the manual. We'll show you a couple of screenshots of that now so you can see it. Make sure, and I repeat, that you put 220-degree turns after you've given it 20 Newton meters on the head bolts. That should give you the 85 to 90 Newton meters that you require on the head bolts, especially if you're using a multi-layered steel gasket and if you're reusing the head bolts. Here we go. Right, so we've cleaned all the bolts up, we've taken the majority of the engine oil off. The reason I've done that is I'm actually going to use something rather different to engine oil to put these on with. I'm going to use this stuff, which is Torx fine assembly lube. You can use engine oil, there's no problem with it, but this stuff is pretty damn good and you can buy it from most engine sort of building suppliers. I believe it comes from America originally. It's a kind of reddish goo which does a much better job of lubricating bolts and bolt heads when we're doing something like this sort of job. So let's grab the cylinder head. It's fairly obvious which way it goes around guys. You've got these two big channels here which are going to match up with this side on here, and then you've got the block posts which go in at the top sides. So that is a block post here and a block post here. So it's simply a case of just laying it down and going for it. So here we go, just going to get this nice and straight. That's her on. Okay, right, give it a bit of a wipe down, she's a bit dirty on the top side here. Okay, so these stretch bolts, according to the Mitsubishi manual, we're going to pop them in and we're going to torque them up to 20 Newton meters to begin with, and then the Mitsubishi manual detects or says that you need to use a protractor, a dial gauge, to then tighten them to 120 degrees. So we do 20 Newton meters and then we stop, we do all the bolts to that torque or that Newton meter setting, and then we do the degrees of 120 degrees thereafter. So we've got our special little tool that we've made up for that. Nice and simple, guys. It's just a protractor on a bit of card so that we can turn the bolts and get them to exactly the right tightness. It says in the manual quite clearly, if you go too tight, you have to take the bolt out and start again. Okay, so we'll start off first of all by just getting them threaded, put some lube on them. And we'll drop them in one at a time. And although you can see me only putting this on the heads, I've made sure there's still enough oil on the washer at the top here that will give it sufficient amount of lubrication. That's quite important. You don't want the washer grunching against the bolt as you're putting the bolt in, because you want the Newton meters to be exactly correct. This is why there's so much lube involved here, guys. You really can't give it enough. So there we go. Okay, so as you saw in the previous video, these are put in with a 10mm 12-point hex head socket. There's nothing special about it. I've just got mine on a long bar, and what I'll do first of all is I'll just run them in by hand until they start to pick up. So I'm not putting any force in them here, I'm literally just nipping them tight. Okay, start in the middle and work your way out as always. In the manual it tells you the sequence for tightening properly is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with the belt sided engine on my left hand side here. Right, okay, so that's them all knit down. So we'll grab the torque wrench and we'll start off with the 20 Newton meters to begin with. This torque wrench is already set to that specification. So we'll start off with the bolt I said first, number 1, up here. There we go, number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. And number 8. Okay. Right, so from this point forwards we can use the standard ratchet handle, which I'm going to prefer to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the ratchet handle on, and we're going to put the 0, which is on the top of my protractor, at the top of the bolt there. I'm going to line that up with this bolt head in here. You can see my finger. Okay. So I've got the ratchet handle pointed straight down, I've got the line straight up. I'm going to turn this now through 120 degrees. So I'm actually going to take the card and spin it, so that I'm starting at the 0 point here. And I'm going to turn the ratchet handle until it gets all the way around to the 120 degrees. So let's give this a try. Right, we'll try a bigger bar on that because it's rather difficult. Okay, we're nearly there. I'd say we're at about 110 there. Keep it lined up with our hole and our markings. A little tiny bit more. Right, bring that back up. I would say that's almost bang on 120 degrees. So we'll do the same for the rest of them, guys. So here we go. Okay, so all 8 bolts now are done up. That's the cylinder head on. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. The torque on the bolts, from the feeling of that, isn't actually as much as I would have expected, but we follow the manual and we're pretty happy that's us good to go. So now at this point we've got to clean this surface up and get it ready to accept the cam girdle and all the rocker arms and everything else. Now that's the bit where we put on the special sealant, guys, that you've seen me talking about in a previous video, and that's the bit that we hopefully can get it so that we don't have a leak from the half moon seals. Okay guys, so here we've got our cam girdle. What we're going to do is put this Worth silicone special onto it, which is the supplied foam in place gasket that's recommended. The manual recommends a Mitsubishi part. This is essentially the same thing but made by Worth. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to put it all the way around this groove here that you can see, and follow that line all the way around here, all the way around the head till we get to the end. We're then going to put a little bit in the middle here, and we're going to just smear a tiny amount of it on where the half moon seals are going to sit, just to help them get a good seal. The most important thing you're doing when you're doing this is to make sure that, one, you get a consistent 3mm bead, and secondly to make sure down this side here, these oil passageways are crucial. You cannot block these off, so if you end up going too thick here, you're going to have to wipe it off and start again. Right, so let's give this a try. So if I start up this end here, right, off we go then. So if I give it an eyeball, I'm looking to make sure that it's all sitting proud of the groove and there's no parts of it which are sitting below the groove that it's supposed to sit in. Got another little break here which I'll just fill in. I'm not happy with this corner. Tiny add more on there. Right, so let's pop the half moon seals in. Now these only go one way around, guys, so you're going to make sure you orientate them correctly. I believe if you actually look straight down at the assembly here, you can see that I just use this drill here to point. This groove here is where this is going to sit, folks, this little tab here. Now it sits closer to the front than it does to the back. So if you look at the half moon seal carefully, you can see the distance here is smaller than it is on the other side. So I would reckon we're going to be going that way around, and we'll just place it down in there. That's looking lovely. There are 2 tangs that sit at the bottom of the half moon seal that are going to locate for us. No, I'm not happy with that, that's still not correct, so we'll turn it round. There we are. Okay. Right, so the half moon seal is in. Now again, belt and braces, I'm going to just smear a tiny little bit on the surface as well. So we'll go one way. We'll go the other. It's a 20-year-old engine, guys. These things are going to be a little bit shrunk from the years, which is why they leak in the first place. I don't want it happening once we get it in the track car. So we'll just make sure we've got absolutely enough on there. Right, I'm pretty happy with that. Right, okay guys, so there's no prizes for making sure you get this on the right way around. If you get this part wrong, then you probably shouldn't be doing this kind of work. 2 cam gears are going to come closer to me. I'm actually going to set it on its end. It's quite heavy, but what I don't want to do is touch any of this gasket sealant, obviously, or I'm going to have to start it again. So I think what we'll do here is try and get a grab round behind. Let's see. Yeah, we can set it like that. Okay. I'm simply going to lie it down here and pay attention to, again, the 2 block posts. So it slots straight over the 3 spark plug holes. And I want to try and lay it down as evenly as possible. There we go. That's home, I think. Perfect. Right, so there's it on. Now what we need to do is put the bolts in. So again, liberal amount of oil in the bolts. I believe we've got 2 longer bolts here and 8 shorter ones. Get them all lubed up, guys. I'm not going to use Torx assembly lube on these because it's not quite as critical with this. Obviously with the cylinder head, the lube is essential to make sure you get the right torque measurements. This is important but not quite as disastrous if it goes wrong. 2 longer ones go in the high posts, and then we've got 8 short ones. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we'll just nip these in. Right, the torque on these is 24 Newton meters, so I've already adjusted the wrench so it's at the right torque spec. And the tightening sequence is similar to the cylinder head, so likewise with anything aluminium like this, guys, you usually start in the middle and work your way out. And that's to avoid any warpage of the head or the girdle in this case, or the part which you're actually working with. So I think we're looking fairly good there. So as you can see, even as you nip them a tiny little bit, the ones that you're not nipping begin to free themselves up. We'll just gently keep working them until I'm happy that everything is nice and tight down before we actually torque it all up. Right then. So the sequence according to the manual that I've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's get 24 Newton meters on number 1 first of all. So we're hoping for a click here on 24. There we go, straight away. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Number 10. And we'll just check them one more time, just to make absolutely sure. Right, if my wonderful camera operator comes over here and has a little look down inside here, you'll be able to see, or you should be able to see if you just get a bit of light in there, the foam in place gasket just being squished out around the edges. Tiny little bead of it is just showing. That's pretty much what it was like when we took it apart. So I'm quite happy we've done a good job on that. There's a little bit of it coming out all the way around the outside as well. So we know we've got pretty much complete coverage in there. Let's check the half moon seal side, which is just around here, and we've got a little bit squishing out around all the half moon seals. Okay guys, so guys, that's pretty much complete. We are now going to put rocker covers back on the engine. I think we'll use a little bit of sealant on that. I'm not going to bother buying new rocker cover gaskets because if they leak a little bit, it's not going to cause a catastrophic failure. It just means we have to get the cloth out and start wiping it a bit more often. and then we can really get moving. So hopefully in the next video what we're going to do is we're going to put a water pump back on this. The one that was on it I wasn't happy with. I'm going to get it changed. Being a water pump, it's pretty impressively important for the engine. And then we'll put the timing belt back on it, and then we're going to put the clutch on it, the gearbox, and hopefully then we'll stick it down in this engine bay where this old piece of rubbish is going to be liberated from, and we'll start getting towards the track car. I think what we're going to do is we're aiming to get on track, probably at Brands Hatch. That would be an ideal place to test out the car, and it's a track which I love going to. I've been there 3 times already. Maybe around about late sort of springtime, early summertime. So we're hoping for May, June time, somewhere in that sort of region. So watch the space, guys. Keep subscribing and liking the videos. I really enjoy it, and if you ask any questions, I would love to answer them. So if you want to know anything, if you think I've done anything wrong, stick some comments down, and happy working on your FTOs, guys. Paymo out.